Your future is at stake, which is why it's critical to hire a legal team with a proven track record of successfully defending cases like yours. Don't just settle for experience. Choose a team that get you the best possible outcome where you feel they're a good fit for you. Make the right choices today, and you can move forward with confidence tomorrow. Should you have questions, please do not hesitate to call and consider engaging my services. My phone is 240-888-7778. This is your future. This is your life. Release plan. As I said, I divided it in 6 parts. The parts one and parts two, I've touched on briefly in previous YouTubes. Part one is before you get to your pre-sentence interview. In preparing for your pre-sentence interview, hopefully you've written a well-written personal narrative that includes everything about you from childhood till what brings you in front of the court today, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the Clint Eastwood in the movies. Regarding your release plan and your allocution, where you'll be talking to the judge, you're humbled by this event. You're embarrassed. You have It's your opportunity to express that you have acceptance, you accepted responsibility, you have remorse for the victims you've harmed. And in every case, there's victims. Even if the indictment says there were no victims, there are victims. And so it's just how we word it. And you have regrets for what you've done, and you want to be able to make things right on the backside of prison. And when you're there, you're going to spend all your time diligently working to increase your personal development and growth because you owe it to the victims first, your community, your family. Part two builds on what you've already done, but this is now before the sentencing hearing. And again, the allocution is your conversation with the judge. And so, as part of your allocution, which is your conversation between your narrative and your conversation with the court or judge, your allocution, this can help you by significantly reducing the amount of time you will put in prison, or it can hurt you depending on how cavalier you are when you have the conversation. Again, building on what we've just talked about, you're humbled by the series of events. You're embarrassed, in front of the community, in front of your home, and you have regrets for the harm you've done to your victims. As part of the allocution, it's normal to be nervous. You can have pre-written notes. You've spent a lot of time, a minimum of 3 months, doing all of this between when you have a guilty verdict and your pre-sentence interview. And so most of it as part of your narrative that you own it. You can go into court with a 5x8 index card with notes on it or bullet points. You can create a video. A video can be under 10 minutes because the judge will look at this before he ever gets into the chambers at your sentencing hearing. In other words, most judges have your sentence determined before you ever go and appear at your sentencing hearing. Part three, this is when it begins to grow. It's when you're inside prison and you're documenting your personal growth and development while you're there. Aided in this is the First Step Back programs that may be offered to you. And if you're in a minimum or a low, and this is your pattern score, which we'll talk about in a future video, your case managers will begin to offer you programs to take. So I feel it's important, similar to having health insurance at home, car insurance, auto insurance. You really don't want to spend the money on it until you have a problem. Here too, by documenting every class that they tell you to go to, who taught the class, what you learned in some sort of notebook or logbook or journal. And if you get challenged 6 months later, 10 months later, you now have proof that you took the class. Otherwise, you don't have a leg to stand on. But more important, this helps grow your release plan, which is important to your case managers and then to the halfway house managers as they begin to accept you into their programs. If you were successful in business, or you're a rocket scientist, physicist, mentoring others, teaching classes. If you have an idea, discuss it with your case manager, write an outline for it, and then give the credit to the case manager. It'll make them look good because these are all employees also. Each of them has a boss and a supervisor, and they want to look good. You can learn a trade or an occupation. For example, you can get CDL, which is driving those large trucks. Pensacola in Florida, Yazoo City, I believe it's in California. They both have programs. Personal development and growth includes education at its core. If you don't have your GED, you want to get it, then you can go on. In addition to the First Step Back classes, you can try and get an undergraduate degree online or a master's degree, or even working towards a law degree. It's wherever your interests lie. If you like to paint, draw, write, as long as it's something that's constructive and potentially could open a career for you, then do it. That's what Nike says. Just do it. If you're the CEO, COO of a business, a doc or lawyer, I already reviewed this, and you were successful, think about teaching the class. If you've already have a job lined up, then begin emailing and calling or writing them 18 months before you're released, just to let them know that you're soon going to get out. But before you get to your pre-sentence interview, if you have a character reference letter where someone's willing, they know your character, they know your skills, and they would like to hire you when you get out at minimum wage, but that's okay. That's a great letter to go into your pre-sentence interview with and to keep with you while you're in prison, incarcerated, going through part three, if you will, of the release plan journey. Then 18 months before release, you may want to consider contacting your new probation officer who will supervise you through supervised release after halfway house. If you own a business that was not part of the charge, you can run the business, but you're not going to be able to run it right away when you get in halfway house. But they can give you a letter, someone who is going to be in charge while you're not there, saying that they're going to hire you. That's a great letter to have. Plus, it's information that you all can provide, everything that you're journaling to your supervisor, to the new probation officer. Part four, this is before you're released. And this is deep in detail of what you'll be doing once released. This can all be started by following an example. There are pre-sentence release, there are release plans that have been developed by Rikers Island, Minnesota Department of Corrections, the National Institute of Corrections Manual, and there's a release plan step guide. All three of these are on my website. I'll see if I can put the links into this particular YouTube. But all of this will or should, but nothing is guaranteed. It's going to make you a better candidate for halfway house. The beds are limited, and residential reentry managers want to fill these beds with people who are going to go and re-enter society successfully. Is this you? Planning ahead will also help you reduce anxiety and help you to facilitate a smoother transition home. I realize that at this point, you haven't even gone to your pre-sentence interview, and it seems premature, but take it from experience, of which I didn't have any. That's why I transitioned from medical care. I was convicted of a felony in 2006. In 2010, I was able to get my license back. And then over time, I transitioned into working with people who, like myself, have gone through this problem. If you're already at this point and don't have the time to wait for my future videos, give me a call and we can discuss your situation one-on-one. Again, my phone number is 240-888-7778. From the beginning, planning your return home from prison starts before sentencing. Your opportunity for voluntary surrender helps. It makes this more possible, but not everybody is able to surrender themselves. In such cases, after arriving at their designated facility, you should consider some of the suggestions in a voluntary surrender guide. And again, I'll try and put this on this link in the website, but I don't know that it will be there. It is on my own website at physicianpresentencereportservice.com. Start saving money if you can right away. Shortly after arriving at your designated facility, you'll be given a job assignment. While these jobs are typically low paying, some will pay a decent amount by prison standards. And that's usually found in Unicor, which is a prison industries. Once you've purchased all your necessities, begin saving as much as you can afford to do so. Even small amounts will add up over time as you need as much money as possible when you're ready to go home. Maintaining a valid driver's license, having a valid driver's license when you're released will make your transition considerably smaller. If you've been in prison a longer time, that's really not going to be possible. If your license will be expired by your release plate, it may be possible to renew it through the mail. A loved one at home can look into your state's rules and see if they're able to make these preparations and getting it renewed right before you're released. You were trying to be aware of your credit. Run free annual credit report.com. Inmates are ideal targets for identity thieves because of their isolation. Before you go to prison, this is a good idea. Consider freezing your credit cards to protect you while you're away. I didn't know that. And so one of my great credit cards had, for my practice, I was putting 70,000 a month on it. I had lots of airline miles. I lost it all. And it went against me because they kept adding on service fees, and I wasn't around to pay it. Request a credit report before you release so you can address any irregularities before you get home or as soon as you do. Use your time wisely. I've already discussed this a bit. You want to get your GED if you don't have it already. If you don't have your GED, you're not going to be able to get good jobs in prison or out of prison. Enroll in classes through your facility's education department. I'll have videos at the end about new programs from the arts through CDL truck driving, through different types of robotic computer training that will be available. Take advantage of these opportunities for vocational training and earn that college degree from a reputable accredited program. When you're getting close, release preparation in the BOP usually starts around 18 months before your release date. Your facility will offer a variety of classes for your reentry. Some of them you may poo-poo or think is no big deal. Take them. Just try and pay attention. Your case manager will also begin meeting with you to discuss your plans for post-release housing and employment. You want to begin to prepare your resume.